Hey everyone, welcome to another video. It is frigid out here this morning. It's early on a Sunday morning again. Heading on down to Council Bluffs to Bolero Thunderbolt for the second day of the the Joe Tomsu Memorial. Yesterday was a team event, which I didn't bowl in, but today is the over-unders. The format for today is 6 games of qualifying broken into the top 16, or it'll cut to the top 16 under, so those under the age of 45, and the top 16 over 45. And then those seeded will get paired with each other, so then the final rounds will be a bracket challenge in a doubles format. So very excited for this. I'm in the overs group. There's a lot of very, very stiff competition in this, a lot of legends who've been bowling this for a long time, so I'll be happy just to compete. The pattern today is the USB-C white number 2, so I anticipate scores will be pretty high, so I'm going to have to do my best here to hopefully make that top 16. So goals for today, I'd like to be plus 120 minimum, if not more, and then obviously I'd love to make the top 16 overs, and then of course win the whole thing if I could, but we'll take one step at a time. So I'm gonna go grab some breakfast this morning and then head on down. So we'll see you at the bowling alley. Can I get 2 bacon, egg, and cheese for sandwiches and white milk? That's it.
Bueller, Bueller, Bueller.
Alright, is that everything?
That's it.
Alright, that'll be 7:45. So I can drive to the window.
Thank you. That took a while. Breakfast of champions, baby. Alright guys, so game 1 is in the books. I missed a couple of makeable spares, which is not ideal. I wasn't feeling really comfortable, but I feel like I'm in the right ball and I've got a good line. I just have to get a little more comfortable and hit that mark a little more often. Ended up with a 191, so not ideal, but we'll see if we can't bring it back game 2. Alright, game 2 was very similar to game 1. The ball was right, the shot's right. I just need to execute a little bit better. I missed a baby split. Also had a really bad count on a fill ball when I tried to experiment with something a little bit different. The ball jumped on me and I got a 5 count on the Greek church. But ended up with a 207, only had the 1 open, so not the worst game. It's getting me back, but I need to do something to feel a little bit more comfortable. Game 3, I am going to start out by trying that ball I ended with. I'm going to have to move a little bit deeper, and let's see if I can't find something that's a little more comfortable. Well, game 3 was interesting to say the least. Lane 32 was jumping like crazy. At the end of the tournament, everybody was talking about how much that lane was hooking. Both lanes were actually hooking quite a bit. And unfortunately, I had decided to switch into a ball with surface before I started the game, and that was definitely the wrong ball to be in. I was fortunate enough to pull the ball a couple times and go Brooklyn and carry, and then the one time I did actually hit my mark, it also went Brooklyn and carried. So I started with 3 Brooklyn strikes, was obviously in the wrong ball. After the 4th frame, I switched balls, moved a little bit deeper into my T10, and then ended up throwing the next 3 or 4 in a row. I was lucky enough to shoot a 235, so that's put me back in the positive. So the scores also are not as high as I thought they were going to be, so it's getting me close to being back in the mix for the top 16. So let's see what happens when we go to the other end of the house and start game 4. So the low end of the house is definitely a different shot than the high end of the house. It took me a few shots at the beginning of the game to find where the shot was actually going to be. So messed around a little bit, moved all over, and ended up finding a good spot and threw a number of strikes in the middle of that game. Unfortunately, I whiffed on a 10 pin in the 10th frame, which is not what you really want to do in a tournament like this. Still managed to shoot 212, so I'm still in the positive. So game 5 is ahead of me, and I got to keep this going. well, game 5 looked not too dissimilar from game 4. I did end up switching balls after the first 1 or 2 frames. I noticed that they're breaking down a little bit more, but I was able to play in a similar line with just a different ball that goes a little bit longer. And, didn't have as many strikes as I probably would have liked, but did put a few together and shot 218. So I'm going to keep it going. At this point, through 5 games with 1 to go, I'm actually sitting in 11th for the over, so I'm inside the cut line, so things are looking really good. All I need to do is put together just a kind of an average or solid game, and I should be able to make it into the finals. So let's see what happens. Well, as you can see from the score sheet and from watching that last game, that was a real dumpster fire. The shot was just a little bit tighter for me on this pair. It seemed like I had a pretty good line, but if I missed just a little bit, I was either going high or I was going light. And I ended up missing a makeable spare. I missed a makeable baby split. I also had a big split in the game. Only had 2 strikes, I think, for the entire game. Had some very untimely 10 pins as well. Working on a strike, left a 10 pin, and I could have doubled up. Ended up with a 157, which is terrible, and unfortunately that did drop me quite a bit. So I finished plus 20. I'm happy I'm in the plus side, but my goal going in was plus 120, so I was well off of that. And really all I needed to shoot to stay inside the top 16 was about a 181, and I shot 157. I did end up in 19th, so was good enough to get the last cash spot, so at least I still cashed for the tournament. But obviously it's a disappointing way to finish the tournament. But I gave it my all, and I'm not unhappy with the final results, I guess, having cash. So all in all, I'd say it was a successful tournament. So we will see what happens next week. We are on to a doubles tournament with Troy, and we'll see how that goes. Thanks for watching.